All right, we're rolling, Katie. So thank you so much for being here and doing the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
We talked a little bit about this before, but just go ahead and tell us what you do and start with that.
Right, yeah, so I'm a massage therapist. I've been doing massage for about 6 years. I just started my business in October. I do sports massage, so any injuries and like pain management, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I work with a lot of athletes for maintenance between events and that sort of thing.
So how did you get into that?
Oh, that's kind of a long story. So going into massage school, about a month before I was supposed to start, I had a knee injury and I had to get surgery on it. And I was doing physical therapy and I was making progress there, but not as much progress as I would have liked. And then going into massage school, I was getting massages 3 to 4 times a week. And so just like the muscles relaxing around that joint and getting the range of motion and all of that really made a difference for me. And so I was like, I want to do that. Like, I want to help people do that, you know?
Yeah, I like that. Well, you know, because I've had a lot of like health people on. This is the first time I've ever had like a massage therapist on. But I always thought it was really cool how, you know, you can manipulate the muscles and everything around a joint or stuff like that to make it feel better, right? Because, well, one example I always give is like, you know, my legs, my upper thighs started hurting one time. And I was like, dude, what's going on? And I went to like a sports therapist, massage therapy. And they're like, it's your core. Like your legs were doing the work that your core was supposed to be doing.
Right.
And how like everything was so like mixed together almost.
Right, get some hip flexor action up in there. Yeah, so then if you are overworking like those hips or that sort of thing, then your quads kind of take over. And so it really is a full body thing. Like everything's connected, everything. And it's, so like with my knee surgery, I started getting shoulder pain.
Oh, no kidding.
And they're like, oh, that's from compensating. You're compensating, like you're leaning to that right side because it was my left knee.
And your shoulder was doing some work.
Right.
Holy crap.
Yeah, so it's really is your whole body. And if something's thrown off, then the whole thing's thrown off.
So when you meet somebody like that, and they might have a shoulder pain like you were talking about. So like, let's take someone for your experience, for example. Like, would you look at the shoulder and immediately try to find something else, or how would you go about doing that?
We would kind of just talk about recent injuries, that sort of thing. That's something in my intake that I'm like, have you had recent surgeries? Have you had recent injuries? What's going on with your whole body, right? Yeah. And obviously we'll look at the shoulder, we'll work some of the muscles in the shoulder too, because that's sore, but we'll kind of target what exactly is happening.
Yeah, holy crap, dude. Well, it's always so crazy to me because the body is just this crazy thing. So you went to massage school. So how was the journey of finding that you wanted to, you know, go into sports therapy, be a massage therapist?
Right. So it's been about 6 years. I started just working for a studio. The first studio I worked for I was like, what did I get myself into? Why did I even want to do massage? It was awful. Yeah. But so I worked there for about 3 months, and then I started working at a place in Park City. So you get a lot of snowboarders, skiers, that sort of thing during ski season. And so a lot of people come in with those hip flexor issues or leg pain, that sort of thing. And so it was more focused there. And then I worked for a chiropractor for a while, which was really when I had it in my head, like, this is what I want to do.
Nice.
Because people would come in, they would get adjusted from the chiropractor, and then they would come straight to me. And they're like, he would tell me exactly which muscle to work. Yeah. And then just watching their progress so it was a wellness center, so they had a physical therapist, a chiropractor, a massage therapist, so it was all in one, and just seeing their progress.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. So how is that different from, like, you know, if I go to a doctor with something? Because when I think of like massage therapy or chiropractor, I almost think of like alternative medicine. Right. And so how does that, like, why do some people think alternative medicine?
I think the avoidance of surgery is a big one. A lot of people, if you have an injury, you go to a doctor. Not all doctors, but some will just give you pills or suggest surgery, and it sometimes makes the issue worse. And so a lot of people, especially now, more people are coming around and saying, like, I don't want to do surgery. I don't want the invasive stuff. I would rather try to fix it. Yeah. Fix it with these other non-invasive, the feel-good stuff, right? So massage makes you feel good, surgery does not. Yeah. And so a lot of people are trying to kind of go away from that surgery side. That's in my opinion, that's what is happening as a whole. People
Mm-hmm.
are just recognizing that surgery isn't always the answer.
Yeah, and it can kind of be, well, surgery is obviously like expensive too, right?
Right.
And yeah, and surgery is just a tough call, right? And so, but you know what always amazes me about like alternative stuff, and you know, it's kind of weird to call like chiropractic, right? Like alternative stuff, because I lived in Portland, Oregon for a little bit, and they had like a chiropractic school, so they would like a lot of doctors were up there.
Okay.
So I have a lot of respect for those, but I love it because it's one of those professions where like people believe that your body has enough power to heal itself in some instances.
Absolutely. Yeah, so I actually just looked up, there was a study that was done in Canada at some point, I think it was 2012,
Yeah.
but they actually broke the muscle down into the cellular level.
Yeah.
And so that was, basically they had them do an exercise, right? And then they looked at the cells in the muscles. And what happened was there was something in the muscles that was making them, it was increasing inflammation in the muscles, which is a known fact, right?
Yeah,
so when you exercise, your muscles are inflamed, they're rebuilding themselves, that sort of thing. And then they massaged some of those muscles. And what they found in the massaged muscles was it decreased inflammation, so that, I think it's a protein in there that was causing inflammation. I think there was 30% less of those in the massaged muscles. And then it was also increasing mitochondria in the cells. And so mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. It's what converts your food into energy.
Right.
And so massage is decreasing inflammation, which in turn decreases pain.
Yeah.
And then it increases your mitochondria, which is increasing your energy.
Yeah.
So at that point, you're able to do more exercise because you have more energy, and you're able to do more exercise because you're not in pain. You don't have as much inflammation.
That's freaking sweet. You know what? That actually, you said that, and that I was like, whoa, is that why they put like stay awake in some of the? I used to sell cars, and so in some of the like the high end cars, they would put like massage seats.
Right.
And like one of the settings was like stay awake, and I was like, how does that work, man? Because like I fall asleep every time I get a massage. And then I wrote him one, and I was like, it feels good, but it's not putting me to sleep.
Right.
Like it feels pretty good. So there are different types of massage.
Right. Yeah. So especially like before a sporting event, right? You don't want to put your person to sleep right before they go and play a game.
Right. Right.
And so basically you do like more vigorous stuff. You're like moving the muscle tissue around more. You're doing faster paced. You put on some fast paced music. That's what like get them pumped up.
Yeah.
And it will wake up the muscles instead of relaxing them and putting them to sleep.
No kidding.
There are different techniques that will like, so you're not like going in and relaxing them, but you are getting them ready. You're stretching them out. You're doing the things so that they don't get injured.
Yeah, which is super important. Yeah, you never lift cold, or you know what I mean.
Right.
So it helps warm up the muscles and everything.
Exactly.
That's pretty sweet. So you've been doing this for 6 years. What did you do before that?
Before a bunch of dead end jobs.
A bunch of dead end jobs.
So I kind of wanted to be a massage therapist in high school. That was my goal, and then that goal kind of switched to psychology. So I was going to school for psychology. I was working at a call center at the time, teleperformance.
Oh, cool.
And
Yeah.
So, and there was a day in training where I was like, what am I doing? Like, I want to do something I like to do, and I hate doing this.
Yeah.
And so massage school was a year. And so I was like, I can get that done in a year. Psychology was 8 years.
Right.
But once I started massage, I kind of fell in love with it. And then psychology maybe might happen in the future. Massage is really hard on your body.
Yeah.
So the average career is about 10 years.
Really?
Yeah.
Why is it so hard on your body?
Just so you kind of use your whole body to, you're like putting your body pressure on people and that sort of, so you're using your whole body. It's hard on your joints, your shoulders, elbows, wrists, that sort of thing.
So how do you take care of yourself?
Massage.
Oh, you do?
Massage and then a workout regimen, really.
Okay.
So you keep those muscles, you keep your alignment, you keep your muscles.
Dang, that's great. Well, you know what? Those are things that, I've said this before, but like, those are things that like, you hear for the first time and you're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. But then like, I would have never thought of that as being like a strenuous thing. Right. But I get it. Like, I'm not saying it's not. But, so that's crazy. So how was the journey of like going through that year? I really want to know more about why you felt like teleperformance, why you felt like all these other jobs were like dead ends, and then how you got yourself out of that.
Right. So I guess we can go back. I worked at Subway. I was a manager at Subway for like 3 years.
Yeah.
I worked at a daycare. I worked at Teleperformance. And it wasn't that I thought they were dead ends. It was
Sure.
just that, because you can grow in those
Sure.
areas, and it's just not something that I wanted to do, so it was a dead end for me.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, what was the other half of your question?
Oh, well, so how did you get through the, how did you go from that, like the journey? Like, where, did you always want to be, you said in high school you wanted to be a massage therapist?
Right.
Why did you want to be a massage therapist?
I don't know. I wish I had a better story
Yeah.
for that, but really it was just like I grew up down the street from a massage school. I think they came to the school at some point to like career day or something, you know?
Oh, that's pretty
And I
cool.
was like, oh, I want to do that. And then
Yeah.
it was 3 years after I graduated that I started massage school. So it was a lot of like trial and error and like figuring out what I want to be and what I want to do.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, that journey kind of, I think a lot of it had to do with my knee. So I was, doing the physical therapy, I was doing all the things, but it wasn't really helping. And so seeing the massage actually help me and get me to where I want to be was something that kind of made that shift for me.
Yeah, yeah. And then you turned it into a business.
Yeah.
How was that starting a business?
Oh.
I know. I'll tell you, and then you can finish. But
Okay.
I love hearing the stories because, like, I love hearing the stories of somebody who wasn't a business owner, who's like, I want to start a business, and then who's making it pretty successful.
Right.
I just think that's amazing. Like, there's a lot of cool things in that, and that's why I like to bring that to people. Like, the people like you who come on are very inspirational for people who are like, you know what, I have a skill, or I have something I always wanted to try to do. So like, why not do it? So tell me about like starting a business.
Absolutely. So basically, I was listening to an audiobook called You Were a Badass.
Yes, I love that book.
And at some point in there, she's like, why haven't you started a business? Like, what are you doing? What are you? And I've kind of toyed with the idea in the past, and I was like, yeah, I am a badass. I should start a business. Why haven't I? And so it really was, that was the day. And I called my husband and was like, hey, I'm going to rent a studio tomorrow. I found a place. I'm doing it. And then,
good for you.
Yeah, thank you. And then I just jumped in head first, you know?
That's so sweet.
And so it was kind of rough at first. I rented a studio. The owner ended up kind of going under our feet and ending her lease early. And so, but it happened exactly how it was supposed to. So I was paying way too much. I realized like 2 months in for that studio space. And I found one like right up the street. It's much cheaper. The owners are amazing. And so everything aligns for you, right? Like
yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah. And so I was able to get out of my other lease early, obviously, because she ended her lease.
Yeah.
And then now I'm in a really awesome space. And then COVID hit, and I had to close for about 3 months. So I'm in holiday.
Okay.
And so Salt Lake made everyone close, right? There was no physical contact for 3 months.
Yeah.
And so with that, I kind of went into life coaching a little bit.
Okay.
And so, so I took a few months to do the life coaching stuff. I took on a few clients, and every single client and I just went in life coach, right?
Yeah,
so I'm like, whatever you want to talk about.
Yeah.
And my first like 4 clients were all health related. So like food, exercise, all these things.
Yeah.
And I was like, that could work really well with massage, you know?
Yeah.
Because really, if you are eating correctly and you're working out and you're building the muscles and you have like that mindset, then you're going to be in less pain because you're not eating inflammatory foods. You're not, I don't know, you're like in alignment. You're doing.
Well, everything goes together.
Exactly.
Right? Like,
exactly.
you know, how you eat, how you exercise, you know, how you take care of your body, the recovery, like it all makes a difference. Well, food's a big part of recovery.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, I like that though. You found a way to make it work.
Exactly.
Right? During COVID, because that hit everybody.
Yeah.
That was such a tough time. I mean, so, and I don't get like political about it, but it was just tough, right?
Exactly.
Like shutting down for 3 months for whatever reason is just tough, you know? And the fact that business owners can make it. So what made you go into like life coaching and health?
Yes.
Like you started, I mean, I realized that like you weren't, this was your main source of income and then 3 months was taken away, so you had to find something, but like life coaching.
Yeah, so psychology was what I was going into, right? When I started massage school. And then along the way, someone had said, like, a lot of psychologists go into life coaching because you can do a more, like, you have more variety, you have less rules, quote unquote.
Yeah.
And you can do a lot with it, right? So you're not telling people about their mental health. You're not going into that aspect, but it's basically just setting a plan for people.
Sure.
So, yeah, and that's something I could do virtually too, right? So I could do it over Zoom. I could do it, that sort of thing. And so I hadn't even started.
Okay.
When I closed, I was like, oh, I can't do psychology because I'm not a psychologist, you know?
Yeah.
And so I took a life coaching course. It was about a month for the course. And there's some stigma around life coaching because you don't have a degree, but honestly, it's just you're talking to the people, you're talking about what's holding them back, and then you're making a plan for them. That's it, right? You're not going into the medical stuff like a psychologist would, and you're not.
But you go into like mindset stuff.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I think, you know, so I understand where you're coming from with that, but I like, you know, mindset's such a big deal for people.
Exactly.
And it's part of why, a lot of reasons why people won't start businesses, they won't maybe get into a relationship or get out of a relationship or whatever, is how they're thinking, right? And so a psychologist would be perfect for that.
Right. Yeah.
So, that makes a lot of sense. How did you find the people to go with your life coaching?
So I just threw it out there on social media. I was like, hey, I need some people. It was mostly like a practice round, right? So I'm like, I need some people to like, I just learned all these things. I need people to apply it to.
Yeah.
And so, I got about 5 people right off the bat that were like, I'll do it for you, you know?
Sweet.
And I like gave them a deal because they were my first clients. But every single one of them had something to do with health.
Wow.
They were all like, and so personally, in 2013 when I started massage school, I was 50 pounds heavier.
Okay.
I was 185, I was super unhappy, I had the worst mindset. And so I can relate to those people on that level.
Wow.
And so I don't know if it's something like they know, they were like following me before so they knew that I'd gone through that or what it was, but just something aligned there, you know, and that's kind of what people connected with me on.
Oh, that's such an amazing story, though. That's really cool. Well, I like hearing those again because you just see like you had a skill, you had an experience, and you found a way to like turn it into something.
Right.
Without going to like forever school. You said the life coaching class was like a month?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Right, and it was all virtual, so I didn't have to like mess around with COVID stuff.
Kidding. Holy cow. Was it here? Was it from a guy here local? A girl here local?
So it was all online. Okay. It was Udemy.
Yes. Who doesn't love Udemy?
Right.
You know what? A lot of people don't take that. A lot of people don't know about that.
Right.
You know, I had a brother-in-law who was, he's trying to figure out what he wants to do for school, and when we were talking one time. I was like, dude, you need to go on Udemy. I was like, you take these, like, you can get them on sale for like $9 a class. Yep. Like some classes can get up there.
Right.
But most of the time they'll have classes for $10, $20, $30, and you can just and they have almost everything.
Right.
And you can just go figure out what you want to learn, and you're like, nope, I don't like that. So like, you can get a taste of it without spending $50,000 on a bachelor's degree.
Right, and they're all not all of them, but a lot of them are reputable. I have a certificate. It's a CEU type thing, so it's like a verified class, and so it's not like
that's the other thing about Udemy is they have like professors on there,
right?
Like, Udemy does a really good job about they go out and they find the experts in the field and they bring them in. And you know what they do a lot too? They find the PhD students who have to teach for their degree, and they're just like, why don't you just come teach on Udemy? You'll get 10,000 classes, you can make a little bit of dough.
Right. Yeah, the guy that I took the class from, I wish I remembered his name.
Yeah.
But he is actually a professor. So he has a course that's like thousands and thousands of dollars that you can take, or you can go on Udemy and
just take his like crash course, right?
Right.
Dude, that's so sweet. I wish more people did that because you're like, I want to do this. I find a way to learn enough about it because I think you would agree, right? A lot of life coaching then would just be experience, like dealing with people's experiences and going through those things, right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Did you ever have a time when you got stuck in life coaching and so you had to do a little bit of research and figure some stuff out?
Oh, definitely. So I've taken I mean, so I've taken
Yeah.
like beginner psychology courses, so I kind of know how the brain works a little bit, right?
Yeah.
But with life coaching, it's so much different because you're running into issues that like maybe I haven't dealt with, you know?
Right. Yeah.
And so like I had people with kids who were like butting heads with their teenage daughter, you know? And then I'm like,
That's a tough one.
yeah, I'm like, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
So yeah, things like that were pretty easy to, I mean, you can like go online, you know, there are forums there and that sort of things. And I don't claim to like know, you know, I'm just like, here, I found this for you.
Yeah.
I found like these resources where you can go and talk to people who have been through that experience.
Yeah.
I don't try to like fake it till you make it. I know they say you should, but like these are people's lives,
Yeah.
you know?
Well, I think there's a time and a place, right?
Exactly.
And that would not be a time or a place like you're saying, right?
Right.
You'd want to be like, hey, I think you should talk to this person or go here, right?
Exactly.
And so I appreciate that because a lot of people are like, a lot of people would find that appreciative as well, right?
Right.
I'm sure they found that okay.
Yeah, I haven't had any complaints.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Well, if you're talking about teenage daughters too, or teenage sons.
Right.
No one knows how to do it. Parents don't know. Parents who have teenagers wouldn't have good advice.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
You'd have to go to like some serious professionals. Because I feel like my daughter, she's 4, but I feel like she's 4 going on like 16.
4-year-olds.
I'm like, jeez, dude. It's always been nuts. But so you went through the 3 months of life coaching, then you got your business back in a sense.
Right.
And what's it been like?
Yeah, so the growth was not quite there before COVID.
Yeah.
It is getting better. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm a year in, but 6 months of that was, you know, COVID and people, I had to wear a mask and take everything out of my studio and clean between, I have 30 minutes in between each client to like sanitize everything.
Wow.
And so there's been a lot implemented, but some people still are uncomfortable, you know, getting massaged because you're touching someone.
Yeah.
You're much closer than 6 feet away.
Well, you have to be. Like,
right.
Some of those things you're like, okay. So how do you go about finding those new clients? How do you go about growing your business?
Right. So Connect Utah has been a big thing for me. That's where I found
place.
you.
Yeah, it's a great place to go.
It really is. And so Connect Utah's been a big one. I get referrals from people, and then I go to a gym. I go to an F45 every other week to massage their clients, that sort of thing. So really just putting yourself out there.
I like that though, because at my work they hired like a massage therapist to come into I worked at a car dealership, to come into like the guest waiting room, and they would just like give free massages to people. For like, you know, it wasn't very long, maybe a couple hours, at a time that they would do it. But yeah, those are great ways to start up. And how did you come up with those ideas? Like, I want to know, like, where, like, how driven were you to find clients, and like, what did that do for you?
Right. So I have a friend who I went to massage school with. Anyone who's been through it, that's where you get your knowledge, right?
Yeah.
So I talked to her and was like, what did you do? And she said basically all of those. She's like, do events, go to gyms, go do all these things and get them on your table, right?
Yeah.
So whatever you have to do, get them on your table one time and then they'll be hooked.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it was really, I wasn't that driven in the beginning. So I was still working at a spa and I was making money that way. And so those first few months I was like, just passively doing it, and then I had to move like 2 months into my business, and then so I wasn't that driven. But then after COVID, I was like, okay, this is it. This is what we're doing, you know. And then especially with the health coaching stuff, I'm like, I can fall back on that if I need to, right? And so then I'm like, I'm all in, and so that has made a huge difference. Just that mindset of
I was gonna ask you that. How did that? How was that all in mindset beneficial?
Yeah. So. Really, it's like
was it scary?
When you're definitely scary.
You're like
right.
Let me ask you this. You mentioned earlier on that you called your boyfriend or your husband. Sorry. You called your husband and you were like, I'm buying this studio, I'm renting this studio, and I'm doing this.
Right.
What was his reaction?
He's so supportive. He's like, all right, whatever you want, like we can. If you really want to do it, we can do it. Yeah. He's like the most supportive person on the planet.
Has that been beneficial for you? I'm sure it has.
Oh yeah. In times where I'm like, I just don't want to do this anymore. He's like, you got this. Come on, you can do it. And so it really has been. I probably would have quit the beginning of COVID. Had I not had that support system. I would have been like, nope, that's enough for me. I'm
You're like,
over
that's
it.
a sign. That's a sign. COVID's a sign
Right.
for me not to move forward. Well, no, that's really good. You know, having the all-in mindset, having the mentors to fall back on, and then being adaptable. Right. You seem like you're pretty adaptable. Like you've had to just.
Right.
This isn't working right now, so I'm gonna switch over here and I'm gonna go here. And
that really is the main thing. I think with any business, you have to be able to change. If you are stubborn and you say, nope, this is how it's been, this is how it's always going to be, something like COVID comes up and it's over, you know?
Oh, yeah, no kidding. Well, and because that can be it can be a really big block for somebody, or it can be like a trampoline, like for somebody like
Absolutely.
you, hey, we're gonna go.
Right,
You know?
and there have been so many spas and clinics and that sort of thing with massage who have closed, and so I'm like, if I can just like muscle through it, then that's less competition for me, you know? So it really is, I think that's where some of that mindset came from, right? Like I refuse to fail.
Yeah, way to go, good for you. But I think that's so important, like people miss that, like you can refuse to fail and you can still succeed if you're willing to learn,
right?
You know, take a freaking Udemy course, because they're so awesome.
Right.
I hire, I am in part with hiring salespeople and training salespeople. And if somebody came up to me and on their resume I saw something Udemy, like I'd be like, boom.
Right.
Because it's just like, that's time though, because it's almost harder than college, I think. And I got my bachelor's in accounting.
Yeah, you don't have someone telling you that you have to do it, you know? So you have to do it all on your own. You have to be committed, really.
And then you have to find something you like well enough to be committed.
Absolutely.
Right? That's why, schools are all they're doing the hybrid thing where you go like 1 day, 2 days.
Right.
And then you do the rest online. And a lot of people are like, how are students gonna like react to that? And a lot of people have had trouble with it. And I think one of the things, now I'm not like saying don't go to school, but I'm saying like one of the reasons people struggle with that is because like now you have to be more self-driven, and it's hard to be self-driven about something you don't love.
Absolutely.
Right. Like when you did your Udemy thing, you loved it. You were like, I got to do this.
Right.
And so if you're at school and you're like, I don't want to do this, then you really do.
Right. But I'm already here. I've already paid the money.
Oh, that's my thing is like, you got to invest.
Exactly.
Something.
Exactly. Yeah. If you go in, nothing is free, right? People don't trust free. You're not committed if it's free. If I give a free massage, for example, I've given away like 3 free massages, and I have never seen those people in my studio.
Yeah.
And so really you have to invest in your body, first of all, with massage, right? In your education. If you're not paying some sort of price, it doesn't even have to be money, right? If you're not giving something, you're not going to take it seriously.
I'm so glad that you said that. Well, that's something I totally believe in.
Right.
And I really, that's so interesting. So you tried the free massages and you quickly realized it didn't work.
Yep. I did like 3 free giveaways, right at the beginning of opening my business. And I haven't seen, it's been almost a year and I haven't seen those people in my studio. So if you're out there, come see me.
You better come back.
You're right.
You better take it better care, Katie. But that's so true though. People don't realize that. And I've always, like when I train my sales guys, like there was a period in my life where I spent like thousands of dollars on training myself on how to be best at my craft.
Right.
And so then there was a time where I was like, oh, you know what? I have all this stuff. I kept it all here. You just have it for free. And these sales guys didn't even care.
Right.
And I was like, and that's when I realized that I learned that lesson the hard way too, where I was like, dude, people gotta pay something.
Yep.
So now I just tell them like, you want to go buy it? Well, don't you have it? Can't you give it to me for free? Like I could, but then you wouldn't take it seriously. Like, so how bad do you want it?
Right, you're not gonna appreciate it if it's free.
Yeah, how bad do you want it, dude? I'm so glad you brought that up. That's so awesome. But then how do you feel about? Do you feel like there was a purpose for that, giving them away for free? Because I've heard both sides.
The purpose was to get them on my table, right? That person told me, like, get them on your table no matter what.
Yeah.
And so had they come to me and gotten the free massage, I think there definitely would have been purpose there. Those people were meant to get that free massage, right? So there was something, they needed something.
Yeah.
And so had they shown up, then yes, absolutely, I think so.
Right.
And for me personally, that purpose was to value myself, I'm not, if I'm giving things away for free, I'm not valuing myself. People aren't valuing me or my services.
Right.
And so I think that was a really hard and good lesson for me to learn. Yeah, that I need to value myself.
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
Well, I like that. So let me ask you this. You've mentioned that a couple times, like, that it was like they were supposed to be on your table, like it was meant to be there.
Right.
And you mentioned, I really liked what you said earlier, where you were like, COVID happened exactly how it was supposed to happen, and you finding your studio was happening exactly how it was supposed to happen. Where did you get that mindset? Where did you get that thought?
Probably all the books I've read. I've read a million mindset books.
What's your favorite book?
Oh man, there's so many. I just read one called Letting Go, which is talking about basically if you want something too much, you're going to push it away. Like you have to just let it go and let it flow, and then it'll come to you.
That's so true.
And and then You're a Badass is obviously on my list because it's the one that, made me start my business.
Good.
And then 5 Second Rule by Mel Robbins is
Mel Robbins is a stud.
Yes.
She's awesome.
Yes. So I think those are my top 3.
Okay, cool. Well, you know what about the letting go? That's such a huge principle. I was just on a sales coaching call, because I do that like for free on the side, but only because I like it. And the market's so saturated with like sales coaches. I'm like, you can just have this. Right. But I was on that, and I was talking about it with other sales guys where I work. It's called letting go, but I also call it, like in sales, I call it talking yourself out of a deal.
Right.
Totally, you can want it too bad. And it's also they call it commission breath in sales too. Like people can smell when you want it to.
Right.
Like,
you sound desperate.
Yeah, you sound desperate, you sound like you want the money. You know what I mean? Yeah. You have commission breath. Right? They know.
Right. Yeah, you're trying too hard.
Yeah, you're way too hard. Because some people it doesn't work for, right? That's why there's a lot of people out there that work for things.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So how did you, you're a big book lover. Have you always liked reading?
I have not always loved reading.
I love the story. Tell me, yeah.
Right. So I've tried to read like Harry Potter and other like fantasy type books, and I'm like, I'm just not interested. Sure. But then I started on like the mindset books and the self-help books and all that, and that's where I'm like, yes, like teach me everything, which is it goes really well into my life coaching stuff. I've probably given like 7 books to every life coaching. Yeah. Like you need to read this one and you need to read this one, and so. So I think I haven't always loved it, but once I found that passion behind it,
but that's okay, and that's kind of why I like talking and hearing those stories, because you just gotta work until you find it. Because I was the same way. I didn't like reading books. Like in school, they made us read like the fiction books,
right?
Or like some biographies that I wasn't really down with. And then I started I love reading about different religions. So that was the first time when I read one of those books, I was like, holy crap, I really like learning about this stuff. And then I got into self-help and educational books too, and I was like, ooh, I really like these books. Right. And I know some people, I know that some people don't like the self-help genre of books all that much, but there's good ones and there's bad ones, and you kind of just got to keep going, right? Like, have you ever read a bad book?
A bad self-help book?
Or just yeah. When you found you loved reading, and so you started reading books that you loved in that category, did you find a bad one that you were like, oh, I don't know about that?
Yeah, I couldn't tell you the name of it, but there have been some that are like, I get halfway through and I'm like, I just don't vibe with this person, right? Like, so I'm like, they're talking about some foreign concept to me or something that I don't don't believe in or that sort of thing. So I'm like, just not. So I just stop reading it halfway through. I've learned don't read bad books, don't finish bad movies. If you don't like something, don't do it.
Yeah. Oh, that's really good advice. Yeah, it's so true, because I've had books where I'm like, I don't know if I like that, but see, I'll just leave it on my bookshelf.
Right.
It's like, I'll just leave it there.
Yeah.
Maybe
we'll make it look like we read it.
Right. Well, one time I was reading a book and I realized for myself that I wasn't ready for the knowledge.
Right.
I was reading it too soon.
Yeah, that's a huge thing.
Yeah.
I think, and if I read a self-help book in high school, I would have been like, this is crap, like, get this out of here, because I wasn't ready for that growth, and I wasn't ready to face that it was me that's doing something, right? So it's like, when it turns it back on you, and it's like, hey, you're not succeeding because you're doing this, this, and this.
It's all about,
Then, and I just wasn't ready to hear that, So it's probably been in the last 3 years where I'm like, okay, I like this genre and I'm ready for that change.
Yeah, well, like we were talking about it earlier, there's a lot of self-awareness that comes with that. There's like, because it's hard to hear that you're the one who's causing your demise.
Absolutely.
How did you feel when you first learned about that?
Oh, yeah. So not great. I mean, so it's like you're holding yourself back and you're doing, and so when I first started that like healing journey of like, I need to stop holding myself back, then it really was it's hard to hear in the beginning, right? Yeah. And so then once you make those shifts though, it's like, oh, it really was me. I really was. Yeah. So, I mean, it's a rough journey, but it's worth it.
How do you deal with those rough journeys when in your life coaching?
So I really can't. It has to be the person, like you said, with reading the books. If they're not ready for that change, they're not going to listen to anything you say.
Yeah. How does that conversation go? Like, have you ever had to tell somebody, like, hey man, you might not be ready for this?
Yes. So they actually came to me and were like, this is, and it's before the sessions even start, right? So it's like, this is what's going on. I don't think she actually said, like, I don't think I'm ready to change, but you can try. And I was like, it's not, like, if you're not ready to change, it's not worth my time to try to force you to change, because I can't force you to do anything.
Right. Well, and it's not worth your time either. Well, it's not worth my time, and it's not worth her time.
Exactly.
Because, like, I'm not going to take enough. A session is what, like an hour long?
Right. Yeah.
I'm not going to make you waste 5 hours a week.
Exactly.
Or whatever.
And just me trying to get a sale, like it's not worth it for anyone. It's not.
Good for you though. That's karma. That comes back around. Like,
right.
I've always felt better about telling somebody like, this might not be for you, man.
Right.
And then waiting for somebody to come back around.
Right. And it's like in 3 years, maybe you'll be ready. Come find me when you're ready to make those changes. I'll be here.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. And you've gone through your massage therapy. You've gone through the life coaching, and now you're on into health. And like nutrition and wellness and stuff like that?
Right, yeah. So, like I said, a lot of my clients were talking about the health stuff, and that was what we really connected on. And so I was like, I want to do that. Like that's what all of our conversations would lead into, So we'd start with life stuff, and then they're like, but I'm like really tired, and I'm not eating well, and I'm not doing, like, I need to have a workout.
Interesting.
Something, And so I just wanted to like zone in on just that. And so what I'm doing, I'm in the process of making a workbook, and that kind of goes through your mindset, right? So any life coaching, you start with the mindset, whether that's health or getting out of a relationship or anything, you want to start with where you are. And so that workbook will take you through exactly where you are and exactly what your goals are there, and then kind of give you a roadmap. So like if your goals are to lose weight, then you can go through a roadmap of like, this is a diet change that I want to make, or this is a workout plan that I want, And so that's a big thing. And then I am starting to implement a meal plan. So I have a massage client who I trade for vegetables. He's a farmer, and he gives me like so many vegetables, more than I've ever known what to do with in my life. And so I've been like researching and finding a lot of recipes for those vegetables that he's giving me. And so it's like a new thing for me. So I'm like, I want to share that with everyone. So I'm like, let me like put a meal plan together with all these vegetables that I'm getting, and then giving that to my health coaching clients as well.
I like the trades though. I like the trades.
I've been told not to do it with like that money mindset thing. They're you're not gonna get the money you want. You're not valuing yourself, whatever. But I'm like, I'm getting vegetables. I'm saving hundreds on groceries.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, a lot of those people, and this is where like I go back to like there's good self-help stuff, really good self-help stuff, and then there's like the stuff that's like meh. Because
Right.
I'm okay with trading. Yeah, like I traded. I do accounting for some people, like really like on the side, and some people will pay me. And then one guy was like, I have like a whole pig that I'll give you. Like
Awesome.
I'll butcher it for you and give you
Yeah.
a whole pig. I was like, yeah, dude, come on.
Yeah,
let's go.
sign me
I'll
up.
do that because it's still like for me that's still like an economic growth thing. Now I don't have to go buy all my whatever.
Exactly.
and-
Yeah.
or
If you
vegetables.
look at it at
Yeah.
a money, if you like break down the dollar amount, like
Sure.
you are still getting
Yeah,
value from
yeah.
your work. It's
Yeah.
you're not doing it for free, no matter who says.
Right. No, I like that. I appreciate you saying that because it's true. Like you just got to be smart about it. You
Right.
gotta be. It's got to be worth it on both sides.
Absolutely.
I love that though. So you do a farmer.
Yes.
That's so awesome. Are there a lot of farmers?
So he's actually, and maybe I shouldn't share his name since he's a client.
Sure.
But
Sure. You don't have to.
yeah, so he's down in Salt Lake, and
Okay.
I'll ask him later if I can share his name. But he has a farm just in his backyard. They're on like half
Oh,
an
cool.
acre, and he does shares for people. So he will like take all their vegetables and put them
Oh.
in bags, and then I just go to his house, massage him, and then grab my vegetables on the way out. you know?
Sweet. Oh, like
Yeah.
a co-op almost.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. So
cool.
he has like a whole business. He goes to farmers markets, that sort of thing. So,
That's freaking sweet.
yeah.
Good for him, man. Holy cow. So what advice would you have for, business owners who want to get out there and start their own business, especially young women,
Right.
women who want to get into business?
Right. Just do it. Just jump in head first.
Yeah, the 5-second rule.
That's right. Yeah. Count backwards from 5 and then do it.
That was such a good book.
It's
bro.
yeah.
It's
Everyone
so
needs
good.
to read the 5-Second Rule by Mel Robbins.
Yeah.
That will change your life really.
Yeah.
But yeah, so just do it. Jump in head first, and then don't be scared. Like you will fail, right? But you have to learn from those
I like
failures, and you have to be adaptable, and you have to keep going.
Yeah.
You'll want to quit, but you have to keep going.
I like it though because it's and you know what? That's the first time somebody said that on here too. Is like you're gonna fail, and that's okay to fail.
Right.
Like just accept it. Like accept the fact that you're gonna start this business and it's not gonna go the way you thought it was gonna go.
Right, and just call them lessons instead of failures. That's all they are.
Yeah.
You just, if that doesn't work, try the next thing.
Yeah, and you know what I like about that is okay. So I'm a really like pragmatic person, like very pragmatic, very stoic. And so when I would hear people say, like, don't call them failures, call them lessons. I was almost like, no, dude, like you failed.
Right.
And then I got more pragmatic and more realistic and more stoic. And I was like, you know what? But they're telling the truth. There's no such thing as a bad thing when you're rolling.
Right.
You know what I mean? It
Right.
just is what it is. And you're right, it's just a lesson.
Right.
And you just gotta keep going.
Yep.
So I've had to change my mindset.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's that whole mind. It all comes back to that mindset thing.
But I would call my things failures, and I would see how that kind of affected me.
Right.
And so, but like I said, like I thought I was a really realistic, pragmatic person.
Right.
And the more I learned about it, and the more I started, I was like, no, they're totally telling the truth.
Right.
There's no such thing as good and bad.
Yeah.
We just go.
Right. And if you're calling yourself a failure over and over and over
Yeah,
again, then
that's
you're
not
going to
good.
continue to fail, and you're going to give up because you're like, I can't do anything right. I
Yeah,
can't.
yeah.
But if you look at it like a lesson, then
Yeah.
it's like, okay, that didn't work. People didn't like that. We'll try
Yeah.
this other thing. And it's so yeah. If you're calling yourself a failure all day long, then you're
Yeah.
gonna think you're a failure.
Well, like when I started my podcast, like people were like, first of all, there's like a million podcasts out there.
Right.
So like, what's the difference? But you know what? And they're like, so just remember that, like, and I always thought they were trying to bring me down, but I was like, you know what? I realized that, like I said, as I got more realistic and more pragmatic, I was like, no, they're telling me the truth. It's okay. Your first episode's not gonna be good.
Right.
Just keep going. It's gonna sound like crap. It's gonna probably be crap, but it's not.
Right.
It's your path.
Exactly. Yeah.
So good.
See, I was terrified of even like getting in front of a speaker.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah.
And then I've done Facebook stories for like 6 months.
Oh,
I just
good.
like jumped in and started doing them, you
Yeah.
know? And
Yeah.
then I've done a couple of lives, and my first live that I did, or like the first,
Yeah.
so I was like in front of a group on
Yeah. Yeah.
on Zoom, you know, and I had like 70 people listening. My voice was shaking. It's going to be bad your first time, you know. Man. And then the more you do it, the more practice you get, the better.
Well, and so you get better over time, but then, you know, you realize that I'm doing this for me too.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's what it has to be, almost what it has to be about. Like, I'm doing it for people who listen. Like, we do these podcasts for people who listen and people who jump in, and it's been a humble success. But like, I love meeting new business owners. Like, I saw your live, I didn't watch the whole thing. You'll forgive me, I hope.
I forgive you.
With Alyssa.
Yeah.
I interviewed Alyssa.
Right. Yeah, and, I listened to your interview.
Yeah, and she was awesome.
I did listen to the whole thing.
Well, all right. I'm gonna call Alyssa after this. I'll get the whole thing. But no, I love it. I love hearing from business owners, and so, and when you hear about that, when you hear those stories, it's just like, do you feel like anybody can do it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Anyone, if you have a passion and you have a drive to do something, you will do it. Yeah. There's no other option, right?
Yeah. Holy cow, I love it. So, well, thank you so much. So before we leave, how do people find out where you are? Like, you have a website?
Yes.
And where's your location?
Yeah, so I'm in Holiday. It's off of 46th South.
Okay.
So, yeah, and it's, my website is enlightenedmassageut.com.
Okay.
And then I'm on Instagram a lot. That's where I'm mainly at, and I do stories and I do stretching and that sort of thing, and I put all my recipes on there as well.
Oh, cool. Okay.
And so that is just enlightened.massage on Instagram.
All right, cool. All right, well, thank you so much, Katie, and I appreciate you being here.
Absolutely.
And I appreciate you talking to me.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Cool. Right on. That was perfect.